This is one of the most common questions we hear right now. Why not simply switch the old system back on? Why change something that worked for years? The answer is simple. Because 2018 is not 2026. The system no longer has to operate in the same world. The crypto environment has changed. Technology has changed. Ethereum has changed. Wallets have changed. Attack methods have changed. The relationship between banks, regulators, and crypto has changed. New rules, new security expectations, and new technical solutions have appeared. And at the same time, the number of users has grown dramatically. But if the old system worked, why can't it simply be switched back on? Because the environment cannot be switched back to 2018. Restoring an old system does not restore the old world. It would simply place an old system inside a completely different 2026 environment. And that is an important difference. Staying unchanged is not the same as being secure. Old software can become vulnerable if it is not updated. It may contain outdated dependencies, old encryption methods, outdated login systems, old APIs, or components for which attackers have already developed known methods of exploitation. That is why a long-running system must continuously update its technology. It must add new layers of security, and it must adapt to the operational and regulatory environment in which it currently exists. Does that mean every change is automatically good? No. Change by itself does not prove that a change is good. So the right question is not, why are they touching it? The better questions are, what are they changing? Why are they changing it? What are they making more secure? What remains from the original system? And does the change make the system more stable, more modern, and more functional? What is the goal for ByteNex? The goal is not to create something completely different just for the sake of change. The goal is much simpler: a functioning web office, secure access, stable operation, and keeping the original foundation, fulfilling the contracts that were made. The underlying technology can change, the security system can change, the infrastructure can change, new functions can be added. But these changes should not exist just for the sake of being new. They should exist so the system can continue to function in the world it operates in today. Why does security become more important as the number of users grows? Because the larger a system becomes, the larger the area that must be protected. More users mean more logins. More logins mean more authentication points. More data means greater responsibility for data security. More transactions mean more points that need to be monitored and protected. More countries can mean different operational and regulatory environments. And the larger, more visible and more valuable a system becomes, the more attractive it may become to attackers. That is why it is unrealistic to expect a system to grow for years while its security infrastructure remains unchanged. If a system's user base grows many times larger, is the same security system really enough as when only a fraction of those people were using it? Not necessarily. And this is where two things must be separated: the core principle and the technology that protects that principle. The core principle can remain. The technology protecting it must evolve. So why is simply restoring the old system not a real solution? Because leaving a nearly 10-year-old system unchanged in 2026 is not a security strategy. Continuous updating is part of security itself. The question is not whether a system changes. The question is whether it can change in time and adapt to the world changing around it. But there did not seem to be this many problems before. What changed? In 2018, crypto still looked much more like a digital Wild West. There were fewer rules, fewer institutional players. Wallets were simpler. Different attack methods were common. The connection with the traditional financial system was much looser. In 2026, we are no longer living in that world. Crypto is increasingly connected with banks, service providers, regulatory requirements, data handling, and more complex security systems. The Wild West era is slowly coming to an end, and with that, every system that wants to operate long-term has to evolve. Does development take away crypto freedom? Not necessarily. In many cases, development is exactly what helps protect that freedom. One of the best examples is the hardware wallet. A cold wallet is not just a fashionable crypto gadget. Hardware wallets are one of the important milestones in the development of crypto. Why? Because they try to preserve two important things at the same time: personal control and security. Control over the private key can remain with you. At the same time, the key does not need to face the same risks as it would on a device that is constantly connected to the internet. That is not abandoning the original idea of crypto. It is developing it further. And why does Ethereum keep changing? For exactly the same reason. What was enough years ago may not be enough today. Wallets change. Signing methods change. Transaction handling changes. New security functions appear. New privacy solutions are being explored. New ways are being developed to make crypto easier and safer to use without handing every form of control to a third party. Ethereum itself is constantly searching for balance between freedom, security, usability, and decentralization. And where is BitNex in all of this? In the same changing environment. The foundations of the BitNex system were created years ago. Today, it is 2026. BitNex is changing. We can see that. The technical transformation is underway. So the question is no longer, why don't they simply switch back to the old system? The better question is, how can a nearly 10-year-old system be developed further so that it remains functional, secure, and usable in 2026? What are they updating? What security functions are being added? What is happening to the underlying infrastructure? What remains from the original operation? And finally, does the system function properly? Can users access it? Are the agreed contracts fulfilled? Because in the end, that is what matters. So the goal is not change for the sake of change. The goal is a functioning web office, secure access, a stable system, fulfillment of the contracts, and a technical foundation that is prepared for the 2026 environment rather than the 2018 environment. That requires new security protocols, new protective layers, updated technology, and continuous adaptation. Because today, security does not mean that something remains unchanged forever. Security also means that a system can evolve together with the world changing around it. And from here, perhaps we should not only ask questions about BitNex, we should ask questions about ourselves too. What does freedom mean to you in 2026? Does it mean controlling your own private keys? Does it mean that nobody should decide what you can do with your own money? Does it mean that you should not need permission from a third party for every transaction? And what does security mean to you? What kind of security protocol would you consider appropriate in 2026? One that protects your money? One that also protects your privacy? One that allows you to decide what information you share? And one that does not take away more control than is truly necessary? How much monitoring would you accept in exchange for security? How much data would you share? And how much would you refuse to share? When do you feel that a security system is still protecting you? And where does the point begin, where it starts controlling you instead? Freedom or security? Maybe it will be. How do we preserve both? How can we prove something without revealing everything about ourselves? How can we build security systems that protect us without taking complete control away from us? There may be new paths. There may be optional paths. And technology will continue to evolve, just as it always has. Because if there is one thing the crypto world has shown us over the years, it is this: change is the only constant. A system does not become secure by remaining exactly the same forever. It becomes stronger when it can preserve what matters while changing what the new environment requires. We do not need to go backwards to 2018. We need to find the functional and secure path forward in 2026.